Good evening once again. It is such a pleasure indeed to see your wonderful faces once again.
Yeah, man.
How long we been away?
Too long.
About 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks.
You
somewhere
said too long. You said 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a minute,
and
man.
I say we together again. And that we together not only with you two, but we together with Lucy O'Brien tonight. Good night, Lucy. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lucy, miss you.
Thank you for your dedication, really.
And yes, I did in fact miss Lucy too. I miss your presence inside of here. Even though sometimes you tend to stay quiet and just sit down in the back, and then after the show she hit me up and she said, "Nice show." I said, "Wait, you were there?" She said, "Yeah, I was listening."
That's what she does.
Yeah, she stay in the shadows. She stay in the shadows sometimes. But people, I want to say it's indeed good night, Diane, Roxanne. Good night, good night. I want to say it's indeed been a rough week, a very rough week for me. Part of the reason we had to take this time off. King Josh, good night, good night, good night. Part of the reason we had to take this time off because I wasn't 100. I was not health-wise. I had an unfortunate passing in the family. And death is never an easy thing to deal with. And it affected me whether I want to realize it or acknowledge it. It did, in fact, affect me. I am one of those people that tend not to show stuff on the, overtly. Is that the word? I tend to keep everything inside. So even when I'm angry, I just do that.
Like the people who say, "Don't cry out loud, just keep it inside." Yeah,
so I tend to keep a lot of things inside, and that from what I understood lately from a doctor, that it's not a healthy thing to do. So it's something I have to indeed work on. But the death in the family, it was traumatic, and I had to deal with not only that funeral, but another funeral last week. So it was a sort of double whammy. And we're back. And ready or not, here we come. Here we are. And we're going to keep the thing going. So Karin, talk to us. You seem to be extremely lively tonight.
Well, yeah, I missed doing our live episodes. I really did. I did.
She missed the situation, huh?
Okay. So hold on. You missed.
You're not talking of parables, Hold
on. You missed the situation, or is it you missed Sam?
No, Sam's were the situation. I missed the show and everyone.
Oh, well then say that. Let me feel a little special. I just did. I had to.
You never have to put it.
I had to put it out to you, and that is not the same as if you just come out naturally and say, "Brethren, I miss you, Brethren, I miss you, I miss your smile. I miss your smile. I miss all that you bring to the show and how you keep things lively, how you keep things going." With Dr. I don't know.
Karin, don't keep it inside. Say it out loud. Don't keep it inside.
No, there's no reason.
I don't live with Dr. Judith, so I cannot answer that. I don't know where she is.
Where are you?
Sam, you know where Dr. Judith is?
Not really.
You want to walk off camera and go wake up or something? I don't know.
Does she live here for me to go off
camera? Oh, she not? Okay. All right. So what we gonna do? What we gonna do? We're gonna take it. We're gonna keep on the schedule. One of the things we like to stress on is time. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna run the thing them, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna start the show. Hopefully, Dr. Judith join us really soon, and we're gonna keep the thing going. Run the thing, Sam.
My name is Karin Forrester.
I represent BantuKreations. BantuKreations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in wonderful shapes, shades, sizes, and colors. Please don't be scared of the large sizes. They're extremely lightweight earrings. BantuKreations can be found on IG and on Facebook as BantuKreations. That's BantuKreations with a K.
Check me out, chriskeys.com. I'm worldwide.
Tony Altamirano.
Hi, I'm Gina.
What's up, everybody? I'm Win Vu, award-winning remixer.
I'm an artist.
Hi, my name's Justina Bethel.
Hi, I'm Mike Bowen from Denton, Texas.
How you doing? This is Tom Cup from Music by Tom Cups. Check out Samuel E. Archer's book, Hybrid Executive. We are in the business, and here's how you can be a better business person because you're running your business.
You can find my music at JustinaBeth_EL on Instagram or JustinaBethel.com, and I am a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive, just like you.
Follow me at Koya Music, and I'm also a hybrid executive.
I'm worldwide, baby, but just know I'm a hybrid executive. That's all you need to know, baby.
Get on up, B.
Check out my music, MikeBowen.com. I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
Showtime. Hi, we are the Henry Boys. I'm Joshua.
I'm Daniel. Now it's Mom.
We're inviting you to read a copy of our father's book, Tiny Little Spider and Nursery Rhyme.
Hey, what do you mean a father's book? This is my book. I'm on the cover. Me, Imani. But let's not forget our sister Imani started writing this book.
And our dad finished it. So get a copy.
For yourself or for your child.
Tiny Little Spider, a nursery rhyme by Curtis B. Henry and Imani Smith. Now available on Amazon.com.
With me, Imani. Spider Boy.
Darling, where you say?
Yes, sweetheart. I thank you for your call. You call me so many days. I'm tired of talking to you. You call me so much.
Oh, yes?
Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to?
That one day, him call me so much time. I'm sick of hearing it.
Pull down your screen. All that light in the top is showing.
Push it back up a little
So
bit.
much time I'm sick of him.
You chop off piece of your head. Push it back up a little bit. Right, that's so good.
Right there, right there.
You see just enough headroom. No.
Hey, man, you show something in there, man. Need to show him.
You're still chopping off piece of the head, man. You had it fixed. Fix it back. Fix it back.
A little bit more.
Sorry.
What kind of commotion is that?
Sorry. Ah.
Up a little bit more. You see your head still cut off.
Oh, all right. That might be for a good purpose.
No.
All right. So this evening, people, something that is plaguing us all. Everybody complaining about money problems, money worries. And some people are still working. Some of them are still employed. And yet still, they're complaining. Why? Because somehow the money not seem to be doing the same thing today as it was doing yesterday. Some people claim that they are not getting enough bang for the buck. The dollar's not stretching enough. And it made me think a bit. I remember a time when my grandmother would send me to the store, or rather to the shop, as we used to call it back then, with about $2. And I would bring home flour, sugar, baking powder, oil, peanut butter, and still have at least 10 cents left over to buy a gallon of kerosene on the way back home. 10 years later, I was still able to shop at the same location, spend the same amount of money, and return home with the same amount of goods or more. And then they decided to put up cameras, and I couldn't do so much anymore. Nevertheless,
you was only getting sweetie with that money now. $2 is just sweetie you get it.
Yeah, just candy money. In today's world, we don't get as much value for our dollar as we once did, and we blame the government, we blame inflation, we blame the Chinese, we blame the Mexicans for taking away American jobs.
What?
Yeah, we blame everybody else. And, they say it make it a little more difficult for us to earn a living. But tell me something. If Mexicans were to be stopped from illegally crossing the border, do you think that it would automatically lower food prices and create more jobs for Americans? I think not. I don't think so. I mean, how many of you here right now are willing to stand on a busy intersection and sell roses and shrimp? None of us. Even
wait. When you say, well, just like we hustling?
Hustling. I say roses and shrimp. It's a rhetorical question, right?
Oh, rhetorical. Okay.
Yeah. We could answer that after. I mean, even with the availability of these jobs, Americans will still not be able to earn more or elevate themselves out of poverty because we're not willing to do what the Mexicans doing. We're not willing to go in the hot sun and stand up and cut grass for 8, 10, 12 hours a day for whatever it is they're making. Most of us are not willing to do that.
That's true.
But we complain that they're taking away jobs and that we're not making money.
I've never complained about them.
Let me run through this. Give me your answer later on. Right? But it seems that somehow your expenses always seem to rise to the occasion. It always seems to match your income. And sometimes we find ourselves running out of money before the month done. Sometimes we have more month left over at the end of the money. My question, are we caught in a vicious cycle playing catch up? Or is there a simple remedy for us to get more bang for our buck? Panelists, please enlighten me on some of this.
Okay, so some of the things we will talk about, are these legal things or illegal things?
Go in any direction you want.
You tell me. You're the panel. You tell me. I can't tell you what to say.
No, I'm just saying because
if the FBI come, don't say me and you was talking. You talk.
You, the FBI.
Whether legal or illegal, you go ahead. Wherever you want to talk about.
The free business investigators.
Say hypothetically speaking, and that protects you from any legal.
Oh yes, indeed.
Okay, just in case they want to use this as a most wanted clip. I don't think we would be on the most wanted list.
It depends on what you want it for.
We don't have the criteria.
All right.
I've heard the term too much month, not enough money.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
But I think of late, prices have just been going in the upwards direction. In reference to even the industry that I'm in, I do a lot of websites for clients. And I'll say in the last 3 months, a lot of the hosting costs, domain costs, the labor, everything has gone up in cost. Sites I will outsource certain things to, those prices have gone up. I mean, everything is just going up, like literally, increasing. I nearly flipped out yesterday. I snuck out to a Jamaican restaurant yesterday.
Boy, snuck.
I was feeling for a little oxtail.
Some vegan oxtail?
No, not the vegan one, the real thing.
Just checking.
And the price turned me into a vegan.
You get kids.
No, the oxtail, they only selling large now.
Oh.
And the oxtail was you already make sure you swallow and clean the ears to hear this price for an oxtail dinner. Rice and peas, oxtail with jerk gravy, plantain, yam, and what else all they put in there? Cabbage.
Yam too?
Yeah, get a little yam and thing, man. Nice up the situation. $28, people.
What you say?
$28.
$28?
$28.
May I come up to Delaware
for a plate of food.
Make some money.
Wait, what are you trying to say? It's cheap here?
Yeah.
Expensive, man. What cheap where?
Wait, hold up. Oxtail is how much for a oxtail dinner from a Jamaican restaurant done by you, Dr. Judith?
I bought 2 some months ago for all this price thing. And I paid close to $50.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's a lot of food, though. I'll tell you. It's from, what a patty shop name? Golden Cross?
Wait, hold on.
A lot of food.
Wait, slow down. Wait, I see Dr. Henry shaking his head. A large dinner is not supposed to cross $18. What are you talking about?
Understand something. I am not shaking my head in disagreement with the price. I have absolutely no issue with the price for a plate of oxtail. You know why?
Why?
I am not buying it. I don't eat oxtail. It doesn't affect me. And if somehow you eat oxtail and you had to go out there and pay $28, you know how much groceries you could get for $28?
Not much.
Go in the kitchen and cook.
Okay, hold on. We're not running away from the point.
No, that is the point. Don't complain that the food is expensive. Go and cook. What's wrong with you?
I want to
we're not running away from the point, but what you fail to realize it is that the price of the oxtail is not a unique dynamic in the across the board with everything. The fruits, the vegetables, everything across the board raise up, man.
There's no.
May I say something? May I say something? I'm going to.
Yeah, man, say something. It's a free country.
Come.
It's an expensive country, but it's free. Go ahead, say something.
Okay. Let me just say this. I really believe that there's no real shortage of anything.
There isn't.
There is no reason for these high prices. It's a setup. We've been set up before, and we should be used to it. I travel less. I'm on vacation, so I travel less because I refuse to pay for gas that I don't. When I'm working, I have to go. But since I'm home, I travel less because I am trying to not pay that kind of money for gas. So, what I believe. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the intellectual part. What I believe is so easy to forget. Anyway, so what I believe is that this is all artificial pricing, that they're even in Walmart keeping the shelves looking empty to fool me who I try not to overthink as much as I used to. I spoke to
increase demand.
I try not to overthink as much as I used to. But in this time, in this place, you've got to think. You got to keep your brain functioning because it's a lot of games that's being played with us. There's no real shortage, in my opinion. They having the shelves in Walmart and such look empty because there's something in human beings psychologically that when we see there's a lack, we go crazy.
Right.
And then we end up spending money for things that we probably didn't need. When I used to live in Florida and there was a threatened storm, and people would buy out everything off the shelf, every tune, every water, everything.
They couldn't care less if you had a bottle of water.
Okay. So I would, one guy used to live close to me where I lived there, got annoyed at me because I said, I didn't sense the hurricane was coming to Florida. That's what I said. He was actually angry at me because it didn't come. First, he was angry that I said it wouldn't come, and then it didn't come. But what I found out during that time is that people profit from hurricanes.
Yes, they do.
There are people who wanted a new roof. So they were hoping it would come. Human minds, we are sick people. That's why the government can mess with us. That's why these stores. Let me tell you one of the things, and I wrote about it the other day on Facebook. If we were just sensible enough and strong enough and smart enough to say, you know what, keep it like a blouse and skirt oxtail and not bite. They would have
Yeah. Why are you going on the oxtail? Look,
wait.
I confessed that the price made me turn into a vegetarian. Why are you all still going on the oxtail?
No. I'm just using that as an example because I like oxtail too, and I bought it recently. But what I'm saying to you is, at some point, if we don't get charge of our pleasure seeking and our needs for pleasures to be satiated, if we don't, satiated, I said, SATIATED.
And then we had to go look for a dictionary.
What is going to happen? These people are raping us, but we won't let go of our pleasures. We won't say, you know what? I still say it and I believe it. If we were to take, you see all the, you know many people I know is on vacation right now? The expensive airline tickets, the expensive, everybody's raising their prices and people are out there because when they go back to work, like my people, they want to be, I said I went there, yesterday I was in Mexico. Yes, they want to tell stories. I say shut them down. I'm not going on break until the fall when everything is cheaper anyway. So my thing is this, until we, the proletariat they call us, we're stupid until we find a way to say, listen, I want it to know, but I can't wait a little bit. Until we do that, they are playing with us. And I tell people, if you're playing with me and I'm not enjoying it, playing done.
So Dr. Judith, when you said me, you know, that reminded me of the people who was fighting over toilet paper in the grocery.
All of that.
Remember that scene? No, but Dr. Judith, would you ever be caught into a situation where you're arguing with someone over toilet paper?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Let me get intellectual again. When I was a little girl in Jamaica, at some point or the other, used a toilet outside. You know those...
The latrine?
We call it latrine.
Latrine, the one with the round thing. You sit down in the dark and you skin.
Make sure it hammer good, because...
I afraid I was going to drop in. I promise you, at some time I did, I use newspaper.
Lord Father.
So because of my attitude about
it's real.
Let me tell you something really sweet. I went to have a colonoscopy the other day. The doctor showed me a picture.
Slow down.
Oh God.
Wait a minute. The doctor showed me a picture. I have it upstairs.
No, keep it up there.
Wait a minute. No, I would never let you see that lovely part of my body. And when I saw it, I thought to myself, and people want to boast about what? What is that we're boasting about? We're not much of anything. What are we boasting about? When I saw the picture, I said, golly, gee whiz, and people want to boast? Boast about what?
So wait, hold on. Did you have to drink something before you went to?
I did, and it was. I was more concerned about the process and messing it up, and then having to go redo it. So the process bothered me more than the actual exam. Matter of fact, when I'd never met the doctor before, when he walked in, my parts was visible to him, and I turned my head. I said, "Doc, I want to tell you something. I'm not used to first meetings like this. It is very And he said,
I'm sure he said to the nurse, please give her 2 milligrams of Versed now. I don't need any more talking from this.
All right. But obviously he's of my humor, my ilk when it concerns humor. Because he said, yes, you're just hanging out there like that. But I say that to say again, first of all, remember this, if I was not consumed with being realistic, I had one 5 years ago, and they said, at the end of 5 years, you come back. So the end 5 years, and they said, so I went. I could have said, ciao. Even though my little sister, God bless her soul, they said she died from that. I still have questions about that. But anyway, I could have said, it's not pleasurable to me. I don't want to do it. No, it's proactive, and I like being proactive. I don't like being reactionary. So I went and had the process done. So what I'm saying, even bringing that up, is that we live in a world where we don't want any displeasure. We don't want anything to annoy us. We don't want anything to, if it doesn't feel good, I don't want it. I didn't like not eating for almost 2 days. But the reality is that I've had this test before and it seemed to be diagnostically sound. So I did it again. So what I'm saying is, we as human beings, psychologically, are not well. But I know that long time because I'm one too.
But Dr. Judith, you don't look like you eat a lot of food.
I don't. I'm not a person with a big appetite.
So you know, if you don't eat a lot of food, 2 days not without eating shouldn't really affect you too much.
Well, listen, it's not to digress on this
I
subject.
have about 24 to 26 feet of intestinal tubing.
Right.
All right.
So,
So, all right. All right. Hold on. Let me get back to the dollars. Let me get back to the dollar and how far that dollar's stretching. All you're up inside of each other and all kind of things. You know, hold on.
You get upset about basic information. A natural man like you. Man like you.
We
May
cannot
I finish my point, sir? I'm not going to mention that anymore. All I'm saying is,
bring pictures.
When we get to the point where we say, I am going to take a break from Oxtail. I'm going to take a break from taking these pleasure trips. Shut down the gas stations for a solid weekend. We could make a difference. But we are creatures of habits and we like our habits. And we want
I do not like how you're going after the oxtail like that, you know.
So that is my thought on the matter, sir. I believe that whatever it was originally said.
Yeah, but you brought up an interesting point there, and I don't think we could actually hold this conversation honestly without discussing something that is plaguing us all right now, the price of gas. And this is not just in America, this is not just in Florida or in America. In European countries, some of them are paying upwards of $7 per gallon.
Yes.
Now we're just looking dollar for dollar. We're not talking about whose currency is more value more than the other. Dollar for dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are paying upwards of $7.
Yeah.
Countries like Germany, France, Spain,
England,
even the UK, yes. Places like Hong Kong, though, a gallon of gas is as high or even higher than $11.
Right.
Some people. But that's the price of what oxtail should be.
Some people have the attitude that some people saying that that's over there, as if it don't affect us.
Yes, I agree.
But let me ask you all something, and Judith said something just now that they're not stuck in the shelves and whatnot. But what if the ships can't afford to buy fuel to sail as they're accustomed sailing, and they decide to protest against the gas prices the very same way you stating we should protest? Wouldn't that in turn have a ripple effect and thus keep goods off of the shelves? Do you think that it would eventually affect us here in America?
Let me ask you a question, everybody here and people listening. Have we heard any politicians complain about the price of anything? And I'm being very serious. Are we hearing from any individual governmental personnel, anybody saying we can't afford it? It's difficult. I believe it's what I said before. I believe it's artificial. I believe, including the ones abroad. Listen, this is a what you call effect now? What you call that word? Effect.
Impact? What?
No, there's another word coming before effect. A ripple effect.
Ripple? Okay.
The problem is that everybody profits except us. And let me tell you, nobody has to agree or understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying from my perspective, from living in this country for over 50 years, people do what they benefit from. Government, they don't care about us. That's why I don't understand people fighting about political parties. They're going to do what is best for them. You know, it is amazing, and we have talked about it some way or the other before. When you look at the amount of money that America has sent to Ukraine recently, billions of dollars, and somebody say, how could they be doing that and we are people having problems here? Because they set up the way they run everything is that they make allowance for that money there and that money there and that money there. And they'll tell you that's what it was allotted for. So in other words, we could starve to death. They wouldn't take the money out of foreign money meant for foreign countries. They wouldn't take it there to help us. I do not believe that any of this stuff is set up so that people in general, or poor people, or middle class, whatever, will benefit from it. I believe that this is, anytime you see this start happening, it is a lot of it is artificial. It is driven by greed and is driven by very powerful men and women. That's my personal view. So I think.
Well, I want to add to your point because when I was doing social studies with CXC, there was a part where it said that if America happens to have embargoes on it, that they can close their doors for 50 years without having to take anything from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the 80s when I did my CXC. So there is a lot of validity in terms of what's happening presently is not really going to affect the storage of stuff that's here in reference to food and fuel and all the stuff that they may claim that this is happening over here right now, so it's affecting the price for this and da 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 da. The fuel these guys flying on in the plane right now, they probably had a fuel in the last 10 years sit down in a little
right.
container somewhere.
Before
And
Biden
the price
won.
was cheap then, but they're telling you, well, the price high now, so the same gas that they had stored in a thing how many moons ago, now that you paying more for this thing that they probably paid for 10 cents or 5 cents. So there's some validity there, and someone is making off like a big fat rat somewhere in the whole thing. According to you, Curtis, there's the unseen hands and the unseen situations. And here, what I don't really want to know, I don't want to see those hands at all. I want to know nothing.
So let me bring Karin in on this. I haven't heard your input yet. What is your take on this current gasoline situation?
I actually agree with Dr. Judith. She was talking more about food and stuff like that, and the availability of certain products that it's artificially created. To create the demand. You know that the large petroleum companies that supply the U.S. they're not regulated. They're not regulated. They tell the government what they're charging, and then the government has to decide if they're paying whatever their rate that they're charging. It's not a regulated industry, which is why they can do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. So I honestly believe that they're creating a demand by withholding production or withholding supply, and creating that higher demand, and then they can charge what they want to charge. I really do.
You see do you see this amount of Similac or whatever the brand
exactly.
is?
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Shoot.
This country that call other people third world countries. Part of it, and I could be totally wrong about some of the things that I'm saying. I'm talking from my observations over a period of time and my instincts about human behavior. Before Biden won, there are a bunch of Republicans saying gas is going to go up, but and they started naming all the things. And because they said it so often, I started watching. I'm saying to myself, it's almost like, again in my brain, it's a political move. Yeah, vote for them. Vote for them. When the gas prices shoot up, I mean, I heard this here in Georgia. I saw it on the news. Yeah, vote for them. When the gas prices shoot through the roof, you're going to see them. And all the things that are happening now. So is it a matter of they spoke it into existence? Is it something that is a natural outcome of Biden being the president? We have to look at all these things, because what they're doing to a large degree, they're trying to tell us how to think. They don't want us to see beyond those hands that Curtis and Sam is talking about. They are hands unseen. One of the people in charge of and I can't remember the name of the group now, but she's in charge of like you'd say, ships coming in.
Okay.
At a very large level. That guy, the Republican guy, who's the Speaker of the House. What's his name?
Imports.
Yeah, she was involved in imports. What's the name of that guy?
I don't know.
That's the Republican guy. Wear the glasses. They always talk about his chin.
McConnell used to be the person.
McConnell. His wife was the head of that organization. Is there when something was found out that she had some kind of alliance with Trump, that she quit and ran. They're all playing together in bed, and the only part of them showing is them foot and not them hand. Because them doing strange things with them hand. I don't trust none of them, and I think that there are a lot of what is going on is planned. It is something that they plan, and you know what? A good politician, another word good, cares, that's a very dangerous word to use with a politician behind it, but an adept, an astute politician knows how to read their people. And let me tell you what I've learned since I've been here. This here country, they boast we're the greatest in the world and we're the this. If you have to sell your propaganda so much, something wrong. But with all of this, they're so easily manipulated. They say, what's his name? Karl Marx, I think, said, religion is the opiate to the people. This country is not religion by them fool. Arrogance. Arrogance. Me say arrogance killing this country. We're done. We're to bed now.
So the other thing we have to consider is that there's a saying, when you pay more for the same thing, it means that the dollar is losing its value. So that's another key component in the equation here. So the money is losing its value. I just wanted to throw in before I forget, we have 8 people and we only have 2 likes on YouTube, and I don't know how many likes we have on Facebook. So please, folks, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribe. Please share the link. Let folks know that we're on, and join the conversation. The chat is sleeping right now. You guys need to wake up.
What I kind of realize here, since this whole pandemic situation, we have seen a society that is becoming more dependent upon the government for handouts, where they started with a stimulus program, and they put in several things in place since then, because businesses are failing. A lot of doors are closing, never to reopen. Established businesses, 30, 40, 50 years in existence, are now closing their doors. People are being laid off and are forced to look towards the government for a handout, which the question I ask here is, this new system, this welfare system, is it set up to help, or is it really to entrap people?
It's to keep you dependent, that's for damn sure. To keep you dependent on services, and then they turn around and try to pull back without allowing you to transition to something else. They take it away, and then you're like, what's going on? How am I supposed to survive? I have no job, I have no this, I have no that,
I remember, keep in mind when their altruism comes forth. When is that they start being so kind to us? When is it? It's calculated, close to election time. We just got two big raises here from the governor, directly from the governor to the school system. And so the primaries were coming up. I still wasn't going to vote for him. I took the money. I ain't crazy, but I used the money well. So the thing is that as the elections come up, all of a sudden magically they find money to give you this and to give you that. I take it, but I'm watching you. So again, I still think that it's like, I remember once on Winston's radio program in Florida, and a woman called up, a nurse, and she said somebody stole like Jim Screech here out of $6,000, 6,000 US dollars. Sorry, supposed to be an educated, smart woman. And the person set her up in such a way that when the transaction took place, by the time I guess the person was gone, she was left with a brown envelope with a newspaper cut up in there. And I'll never forget, he said it, and he has said it many times, that this is what I believe is happening, and happens all around the world, but here seem to have a greater propensity for it. And Winston said on the ear, you see, when you're a thief at heart, when you're a thief yourself, it's easy if another thief catch you. And I believe when you're greedy, and when you're careless, and when your pleasures is all that you respond to, when that plays a big part in your life, it's easy for somebody to give you $2,000 and you take a trip. You said stimulus. When this word says stimulus, it stimulates me to pay my bills. You understand? I stimulated myself right out of a couple bills using that money. People take it and make trips and
buy vehicles and buy cars. They can't
right.
afford to maintain.
Right, because you see, the people who are doing this, the politicians or whatever, they know the minds of these people. They're going to spend it foolishly. They're not going to do nothing.
Well, they want the economy to be stimulated. So.
Right. Them don't
and then
care
go bankrupt. People have to go bankrupt after, within like a year after that. So how
for lack of knowledge, of people perish. You're too fool.
They're working it out, man.
Anybody find like visiting the supermarket and stuff, you're coming home with fewer and fewer bags?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the companies making certain staple products are making smaller products and charging more. I have to look at it like, this is supposed to be a 5 pound bag. No, it's about 4.5, and it's about $1 more. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Yeah. I've seen products go up $2.50.
So you sort of desensitize. You're just looking at a bag that looks similar to the one that you've been buying, contain less and for a higher price, is what you're saying.
I'm not desensitized. I put it down.
I'm not saying you, but that is what you're saying that they're doing to people. Oh, they're falling for the okie doke.
Yeah, you have to be willing to say thanks, but no thanks. You know what I tell you? You have to be willing to say, listen, I catch you next time.
But sometimes you don't even realize, because in all honesty, I have found myself going into the supermarket and actually calculating the price of what it is I'm putting in that cart. If something costs $2.25, I calculate that, okay, that's $2.50. Another item at $2.35, I said, okay, that's another $2.50. So those two items, $5.
Right.
And that's how I round everything off. Something for $4.85, I said that's $5. And that's how I say, okay, that's now $10. And that's how, if something happened to be $2.10, okay, that 10 cents can make up. So I say, okay, that's $2. And that's, I find myself having to do that, going to the supermarket sometime, because sometimes you only have a little bit of money for stretch. And you have to be careful, because you might end up leaving back something that's vitally important to the pot that you're trying to cook.
Let me tell you, a friend of mine shared with me. She follows this guy named Dave Ramsey.
Okay, familiar with him.
And stuff.
Yes.
I don't cotton to him, because I have a problem with you telling me how to spend my money. I must buy some envelopes from you, when I can go to the dollar store and get my envelope them or my envelope them and put my money in there. But I must buy envelope from him. Not going to do it. But she said something to me which comes in perfect. It comes in perfect for me now. She said, when I use my debit card to buy food, I usually allot myself $2.50 a month for groceries. That's my allotment. Most of the eating, like Sam said, most of the eating take place in here is my son eating. Because if I could not eat and not get gas, I would do it. Not a big, unless it's cake or something. We're really not big with the food business. Anyway, so she said to me, she was telling me about Dave Ramsey, and I like to get ideas from people. So I said, what you did? She said she have her envelope then, and she put this money in there, and pleasure money there, and food money there. So I say, something, the pleasure business too much, because that could run into other issues. Anyway, so what I said, why don't I start putting my food money in an envelope? I get my envelope from the bank for free. So why don't I put my money in the envelope? You see, a lot of this stuff, takes self-honesty. I realize that when I use my debit card to buy my food, even though I have a $2.50 allotment, I will go over the $2.50. Why? All of us know why. Because that card don't look like the green money that I spend. So what I said, Judith, to keep yourself disciplined, put it in the envelope. $2.50, put it in the envelope. Every time I go and buy groceries, I buy from the envelope. It affects me when I see the money going down. I don't see the debit card going down necessarily, but I see that greens.
And that's how a lot of people get catch with the debit card, because they don't keep track as well as with the cash.
No. And usually what happened to me, from month to month, sometimes I have $50 left over. Say, you're doing good. Since them started the nasty, dirty business, I come short the other day. I was very irritated. But what I decided, I ended up spending from my debit card before the month was over. But you know what I did? I'm telling you, you have to have a dangerous mind not to be destroyed by these people. You know what I did? Since I spent some extra money from the debit card because the cash ran out, when it was time to start over with the $2.50 again, I paid myself back, and because I spent like $50 over. So this time, instead of taking out $2.50, I take out $200, and I'm
hallelujah.
Live on that. As someone is supposed to juke them.
Glory.
Well, let me ask you something now. How does someone on minimum wage? Now, let me ask you something. What is the minimum wage in America? I know some places I hear they're talking $15, and some other places they're still talking $7.
$7.25.
$7 and change.
Depends on the industry.
$7.25 down here, sir. Up here.
So wait, there's a minimum wage for a particular industry, or there's a flat?
Like when
isn't
you
there supposed to be a
look at
flat
minimum
minimum
wage,
wage, regardless of which industry
But
you're in
employers
America?
can decide.
waitresses, because they make money, tips and stuff, they give them the lowest amount that they can. Hourly
$2
rate.
on something.
Yeah, 2, 3 and change.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody working McDonald's or one of the fast food would be getting $7.50, I think.
No, they're making like 11.
No, man.
Are they?
McDonald's people making $12 up.
Yeah,
it's changed, but I mean, up until a few years ago, we're looking at $7.50.
Yeah, pandemic changed McDonald's attitude.
Dr. Judith was correct. I just Googled it here. $7.25.
Yeah, man.
But what states though? Because places like California, it's up to $15.
Oh yeah, well that's the cost of living there is so crazy.
It varies.
So it says the federally mandated minimum wage in the United States is $7.25 per hour.
And that right there, America is gonna pay for it because that's sin.
So right now, somebody on minimum wage can't eat oxtail.
That's wickedness. Oxtail, them can't eat tuna. What you talking about oxtail? They're wicked. That's wickedness. That's evil. How the hell can you tell somebody?
But at the end of the day, if you're making minimum wage or if you're making six figures, it really don't matter,
How so?
Because remember when you get you look like Karin.
Karin, yeah.
Karin went to the bathroom to come back.
No, you know.
Oh, we hearing your voice.
Yeah, no, you know.
No, you know. It would have been nice if my plug stayed plugged in and my battery apparently ran down. Where's my picture?
All right, we'll work on it by the time.
There she
goes.
Welcome back, my dear. Welcome back. No, what happened? You noticed that normally when you get a raise, right? How many people here got a raise before? You're on a job and you get a raise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is how you just really feel it. Let me say you was on the road selling oranges and incense and oils, right? And then you get a job that paying you X amount of dollars per week. Put some milk in my tea, Dr. Judith. And right? Now, when you start working...
breast milk, Dr. Judith, breast milk.
Breast milk? All right, that's what Dr. Henry said. I talk, I was... Lord have mercy. I know where the show going tonight. So the first paycheck you get, let's say the first and the second paycheck, you'd kind of see the difference. By the third and the fourth paycheck, everything goes back into the regular flow.
But that's a decision that you have to make that it doesn't. Because if you were surviving off of $450 at the end of the week on your payday, and you were surviving off of $450, and now all of a sudden you're receiving $475, you do not allow that $25 to just get absorbed into your expenses. You have to now find a way for that extra $25 to work for you by taking it and putting it aside and letting it grow so that you can now use it to do something to benefit yourself and not just allowing that $25 to be absorbed in your expenses. I spoke about that in the beginning, where
That's my kind of conversation.
Somehow your lifestyle just seemed to adjust to suit your income. And the more money you get, the more problems you seem to have. Because we are not disciplined.
More problems.
We are not disciplined. And so, well, I can't blame people for that because it took me a very long time to even learn that.
And you need to teach it.
And even after I learned it, it took a long time for me to put it into practice, to save 10% of my income, pay myself first. This is stuff I know from back in the 80s. I didn't do that until somewhere in 2000 and something when I started doing that.
You must act like you don't get it.
Exactly.
Act like you don't get it.
Act like you didn't receive that raise and put that money aside. Because trust me, if you were surviving before, continue to survive.
Thank
and
you.
Put that extra money aside because you will always find a reason for it. And people, let me tell you all something. You see, when you have what you call a savings account, I don't just mean money in the bank. Understand something. A savings account should be a one-way street, which means money goes in
Don't come out at all.
and it never come out. Because you see, once you touch that savings account, somehow you think you're going to put it back. It never works. It never works. I'm going to borrow something from there and I'm going to put it back. From where? The reason you're taking it out is because you don't have. Where you going to find it to put it back in? The minute you touch that, the only thing you're going to do is go back and touch it until it finish. Let your savings account be a one-way street. Inward. Use your checking account for your expenses.
You're knocking the ball out of the park, man.
Use your checking account for your expenses. And trust me, even if you're sitting down on $75,000 in your savings account and $65 in your checking account, say all you have is $65, you know. That's it. Because the savings account, and trust me, I'm not just talking big and bad and saying, look, I read a book last night. I'm telling you from experience, and I'm telling you what mistakes that I have made.
Serious
I touched that savings account, and it just started to shrink and shrink until it disappeared. Leave your savings alone.
Savings accounts needed some Viagra.
Leave it alone.
You can learn to borrow from yourself. That's
and pay yourself back.
And pay yourself back.
Borrow from yourself?
Yes.
Borrow from yourself.
From yourself and pay yourself back.
Just like how I went over with the grocery amount. And what I did, instead of taking back the $250 I normally would take out of the next month's check, I only took out $200. Because I already spent $50 extra than I normally would have. So instead of taking out the $250 I normally would, I took out $200. So it's a manipulation of funds. Oh, I like that. Anyway.
That's good. That's good. That's good counsel. That's good counsel.
Let's discuss for a minute the onset of depression that sets in when society is going through tough times. How is it that these seemingly tough economic times, you know, when people, like, let's say when people quarantine and men forced to spend more times with their wives, right? Something like suicide, it actually decreased in America during the pandemic. People say that depression caused people to commit suicide. During the pandemic, people were depressed and they were locked inside, and like I say, have to go through spending time with their wives and their family. And somehow suicides actually went down. Are we just a bunch of complainers? Because if the pandemic was bad psychologically and financially, as we claim, how then was there a decline in suicide?
I don't think that was all over the country. I do believe that certain age groups, the younger
teenagers,
were committing more suicide. So I don't believe that's an across the board statement for everyone.
I'm talking about statistics across the board.
I was thinking that if the couples had spent more time together, you know, their sexual activity will increase, which means that the intimacy and all those other things would add to the spice of life. So nobody wouldn't really want to try to kill
something. You know something. The divorce rate went up, but let me tell you one of the reasons. I think, and the divorce rate did go up pretty high during the pandemic. They say because of it. I think when a lot of people fear intimacy, a lot of people are not really close in marriage. They pretend they are, and they say all this nice stuff. A lot of people not really doing marriage the way I'm gonna risk this and say the way it's supposed to be done. But I'll just leave it at that. A lot of people are not really good at intimacy. So what the pandemic did, it forced that intimacy on a regular basis. People used to choose. People coming home from work would say, listen, I'm stopping by the gym. And they get out of work at 5:30 and they don't come home till 8:30 or 7:30. They're late. They miss dinner. They miss time with the children. That, for some people, that's a routine way of living, and they still say they are married and they still say they have a good marriage, doing all these things. And I'm going to run over here and I'm going to do this. What the pandemic did is say, go home to your yard. In some cases, the pandemic said you can't leave your yard. You have to stay home and you have to face this person that maybe you have told lies to about coming home and not being home on time and all this stuff. The dynamics change. when you're in that close proximity on a regular basis. So when you had a way of getting away from each other before, you don't have that now. So in this forced situation is when the reality comes out, is when people start to, and some people who knows might have said, why the hell did I marry her? Why did I marry him? What the hell is this? Who is this person? And then they look at the children.
Then you start walking around the house and about how did I get here?
How did I get into this?
Alzheimer's setting in now.
No. And one day, maybe the wife insists that everybody eat dinner together because now there's more togetherness. And the man, and usually the man gets blamed, but woman too, especially in these days, look at the table and see 6 children and say, what the backside? Me have 6 picnic. What happened to all the money? And everything comes into question now. Everything. And that's what I believe happened. And so remember, people couldn't even go to church to fake it. They couldn't even use church as an excuse. God, church, shut up. So all of this happened and people start saying,
church online.
Huh?
Church online.
Say what?
Church online.
Church online. Oh, please. Anyway, the reality
you realize how much the children eat when you're stuck with them day.
Of course.
Yeah, I looked around and I kept seeing, you know, I hear in my fridge door slamming, open, close. And one day I walk in the kitchen and I see these little guys and I say, who are you? They say, we are children. I say, who? You know me? They say, yeah, you are daddy. What's your name? And they kept going back in and out my fridge. And the big one had the audacity to tell me after I complained, he said, everything you work for is for us.
Yeah, man.
I said, what? He said, everything you work for belongs to us.
Well, Curtis, if they say that to you, and you have a place to go, you can laugh it off. But if they say to you, you stay in the house, you might want to give us a
I had nowhere to go. That is the whole point. But after a while, I realized that they were some interesting beings, you know, and I got to know them a lot better, to spend some time with them, to talk to them. And they're some interesting people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even realized a couple of them look like me. Yeah.
I realized that too the other day.
Yeah, a couple of them look like me.
But you know,
so when they said you are daddy, no, I was asking him, when they said you are daddy, did you have a confident feeling inside, or you started to feel scared?
No, I said, really? No, you think I'm joking?
Hey, Sam.
Yo, this may sound like I'm joking. I swear, this was an actual conversation. I'm serious with my boys. I swear.
Sam.
Yes, my dear.
Because of the pandemic and went into a panic. So what is that?
Like, who are these people in here? Who are these people?
No, but the thing is that's what happened to a large degree, and people perhaps now also were reminded or found out that they're not sexually compatible. Maybe they're not sexually desirous of each other as they thought they were. A lot of these dynamics come out during this time because that's what I said to people. Don't fake it and go find some way. You know, I tell people, when you do your hands like this, usually I'm talking about money, and you have your hand like this. You might think you're holding your money in, but it's going to come out some way. It goes little by little, it's going to sneak out. So when we act like we have a relationship, and yeah, man, a tight man, a good man, and then you're forced to be in that situation. Sorry, for weeks and months.
I went to a
store.
I went to a store owned by an Asian man once, and he was doing a simple test. And he said, "Can you save money?" And he says, "You say, well, yes." And he said, "Do your hand like this. Do your hand like that." So you do it. So, you know, when some of us we do a hand like that, you know, you have space and thing. You say, you see these spaces, it means you can't save money. Move, go. Next, can you save money? And then, so they say, yes, I can save money. He said, do your hand like this. And then this person, now, you couldn't see any spaces between their fingers. He said, you save well. You
can keep money.
So you all could do the test yourself. And, you know, if if there's a curse for the Bambino, maybe you can't say if Dr. Judith tried out. You see any holes?
Listen, I hold it like this, and what
you hold it like that. You see any holes in there?
No, not really. But let me tell you why I hold it like this.
Yeah.
This is something that come to me a long time ago. When I hold it like this, I have the ability to receive. And also to give. But when I go like this, it's squeezing out and I can't get nothing.
Well, put it up in the front of the camera. Let me see what it look like now. Let me see if you could really. Only see any holes? Only see any holes there? Okay.
It looked tight, Judith.
But you know what? Everything we're talking about.
Dr. Judith is very tight with the money because Judith, it looked tight there, man. Very, very tight.
Everything Curtis said a while ago. It's mindset. What happened? What did he say? What did he say?
No, you just said everything Curtis said a while ago.
I just said it looked tight.
Oh. All right, I'm gonna help you, and it feels tight too.
So,
anyway, some of the things that you said, Curtis, it is our inability, our unwillingness for us to think past what we see. Like you said, when I used to live in New York and I lived at this apartment, somebody's house, the basement, I got a raise in my paycheck, and I gave her a raise in the rent. And somebody said to me, "What the hell is wrong with you, stupid?" I said, no. No, I can tell you, initially, I didn't think of the reason that I mentioned why I did it. The initial reason was that's part of my personality. I mean, that's nothing alien to me. I believe that when I receive more, because I've gotten a raise, I believe that when I get more, I should share it. That's just a basic way about me. And that's nothing to boast about. It's just that's the way I was. That's the way I always been. But after I did that, somebody said to me, "But you're smart, man. They're not going to raise the rent by you. Can't you get them a raise?" I never thought about that consciously before. But it's true. So I gained power in the situation because now for her to ask me for a raise in rent, she couldn't even justify because I give her a raise already. So it is how we look at money. And people scandalize the Bible and say, "Oh, God said you must love money." He said, I said, listen, he said, no, the root of all evil is money. He said, no, the loving money is the problem. I don't love money, but I have respect for it. And I believe, like Curtis said earlier, when I go back to school, I understand we have a nice raise coming to us again. In my brain, I have a bill I want to knock out. I must use it to knock that out, but I must take a little bit, because it's not a lot. But you know what? If you get enough raises, after a while, you can do something. So what I want to do... If
you get enough raises, after a while, you can do something?
If you use it well.
If you use it well.
Just being frank, I am one of the highest paid paraprofessionals in this building where I work.
Glory.
Simply because of my degree. None of the other people that I work with have that advanced degree. So I'm making more than them. So when our raise come up, I keep getting higher than them because we all start out differently because of qualifications. But they are the ones that always remember when payday is. I usually don't because I'm a firm believer that if I work and I show up, I'm going to get paid. So I don't concern myself with getting what day it is. So a lot of this is how I look at it. Attitude about money, attitude about work. And it is hard to manipulate somebody like me. And I'm not boasting, I'm just sharing facts. It's hard to manipulate somebody like me with money because I don't look at money the way people typically look at money. And what Curtis said, one of the most powerful things I believe is if you get some extra money, go on like you don't have it. Do something else with it. And act like you don't have it.
But let me ask the question, though. What I'd like to know is, are we as a race earning our fair share when it comes to compensation for what I would consider equal labor? You just spoke about being the highest paid in your building or in your whatever it is. But are we as a race being equally compensated or earning our fair share for doing the same work?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Um, I can speak to the nursing industry when I
Right.
transferred from New York to here. I'm not sure if the my new employers didn't think that new nurses wouldn't be speaking to other nurses, about their whatever was offered, relocation, how much, hourly rate, and stuff like that. We spoke to each other. Nurses tend to be very, very candid when it comes to situation at a hospital, money, all of that. They don't really cap down on that. And they were offering, let's say somebody was getting 2,500 while somebody else was getting 1,000, and equal, sort of similar distances, coming in from another state. And you're like, wait a minute, but as a new nurse to the facility, you don't have much to base your argument on. But when you really speak to a lot of people, you realize, yes, there's various inequities, in how they handled, blacks versus whites. Students coming out of school may have been getting more than you with your how many years experience. One thing I can say for New York and Cali and other really developed um, cities like that, or states rather, is that they compensate based on education, and experience and shift differentials. They compensate you for that. You come to Florida and they make it seem as if they're doing you a damn favor.
Yeah,
You know,
Florida,
they
I'm
can
gonna
pay you
go.
whatever the heck they want to pay you. And
Yeah.
if they don't want to, if two people coming from equal distances or similar distances to the state, and they're offering relocation, why is that person getting 2,500 and you're getting 1,000? Why is that person getting, I came down in '98. Why is that person getting, like, say, $20 an hour, and they're trying to offer somebody else 15 or 17, 18? You're like, wait a minute.
Sometimes they don't want to cover
I've seen it.
certain benefits that you're
So
going to
are
get.
these disparities based on race?
Definitely, definitely. When I got to the state, I realized how the inequities were very, very blatant.
I don't know
Very
anything about
blatant.
this, so yeah.
Hmm?
All I know about Florida is that, in a sense, they are even more backwards than
Oh
Georgia.
yes, they are. I think the
There's
southern states,
yeah, yeah.
I think my cousin came down some years before I did move down to Georgia, and this person had multiple years experience, and she had to do ER, or the unit, I mean CCU, ICU, in order to get livable wages. They were offering nurses with experience 16, $18 an hour. Unheard of in New York. Unheard of. So you're gaining the experience and the knowledge. You just don't want to pay the person. But they didn't feel that way about everybody. They felt that way about black nurses.
I'll tell you what happened to me in New York, and I'm not sure it's racial. I'm not sure, because racism is everywhere. But New York is a little more manageable and a little less obvious and whatever. But I worked for a surgical oncologist for almost 10 years. And he had, and I'm being very serious about this. I tend to joke about it, but he had an interest in me that I would not cultivate. I loved my job. I loved him as a human being, but I was not interested in getting involved with a married man. And he made it plain to me that I can't handle that. Anyway, so he got ready to go from Sloan Kettering to Columbia Presbyterian. And he had gotten an offer there. Found out later on that there were so many lawsuits against him in Sloan Kettering. That's why he was getting out of Dodge. I didn't know that. But anyway, he was excellent. This guy would do an axillary dissection, Karin, and you would never know he cut the woman. He was just awesome. But he had issues, and he started drinking and ended up messing up surgery, so they were suing him. But anyway, so he was going to Columbia Presbyterian. I was going with him as far as I knew, but he was very angry at me because I didn't capitulate in the situation there. And so that was part of it, I realized. And then he started maligning me at Sloan Kettering. Whereas before, I was the best thing since Jamaican sliced bread. Everything, I was just a wonderful, wonderful find. So even the head of the breast service asked me one day, he said, why is he treating you like that? I wanted him, and there was a white guy also. I wanted to him, Dr. Kinney, I don't care. I ain't got no time to find out. I ain't got no time. Anyway, Come to find out, he didn't want me to go with him to Columbia Presbyterian. You know what he did? He brought in a tall, willowy blonde girl. She was working on her bachelor's degree, or had just gotten it. I had a master's. He hired her to work with me, supposedly. Not when I started with him, he had 35 patients. When I left, we had 3,000. I was his only secretary. I was his only secretary. I wrote letters for him. I mean, but I loved it. I loved being needed, whatever. So we get to Columbia Presbyterian, and I'm saying to myself, what the hell did he bring this girl in here for? And one day I saw some paperwork, and it's very unusual for me to look at things that don't have my name on it. But I had to see it, I guess. There was her name. And the salary that he was paying me is what he was paying her. I'll never forget, $42,500. And I looked at it and I said, you need to tell. So I approached him. I said, we need to talk. And I sat him down. I said, let me tell you something. You have insulted me. And I tell him I've been working, whatever. He didn't really say anything. But the bottom line is that I couldn't prove it was racial. I couldn't really prove that it was racial. But I knew, and plus there was other stuff that he had been upset with me about. I mean, this man bought jewelry. I never gave into none of that stuff. I wasn't looking for nothing from him. So I don't know if that was a racial thing. But I do know that he wanted to get rid of me. And so I don't think it was racial in that.
Curtis, have you ever dealt with the racial imbalance in salary in your industry?
Let me tell you something. I personally don't believe. I know for a fact that adequate compensation is not given to Black employees, Black business people doing the same task as their white counterparts. I know that personally. I've been in situations as an entrepreneur where you would come to me for a job and I say $400. And they said no. A white person. And they said no. Somehow they look at me and think $400 is too much for me to ask for that job. And they would go to a white business and ask how much to do the same job. They said $1,200. And they would gladly pay him $1,200 as opposed to paying me $4. But the guy who charged $12 now subcontract that same job to me for $250. And then when I'm done with it and give it to him and he give it to the customer, they said, hey, Mr. White Man, good job. He didn't touch the job. The only thing he touched was that invoice and the money. I did the job. And through him as the middleman, I made $250. As opposed to the $400 I was asking you, the client, for. But $400 is too much for me. So they went to him as a middleman and paid him $1,200-$1,500 for the same job. And somehow believe that they got a better job.
But remember, Curtis, if we are to be fair, there are Black people who do exactly that. Jeff in his law practice in New York, and it still happened to him 30-something years, almost 40 years later, a Black person, a Jamaican, will go to him and they don't want to pay for consultation. He charges them $75. At one point, that's what he's, for the longest time, $75. Mr. Scheinfeld, that was the man's name in Manhattan, was charging them $300. And what they would do is after they got to when they can't pay anymore to Mr. Scheinfeld, they come back to Jeff. He said, now, you refuse to pay me $75. I'm not going to represent you. Because we also have an issue with believing that we give good service, that we do excellent work. We rather pay the white man whatever he asks in comparison to paying our own people. That's still a reality in 2022. I will go, the doctor who did my procedure the other day was Black. I was glad he was Black because it seems that we keep away from people that look like us when we're going for certain things that we need. So we have to, and as I tell people, when you talk about racial issues, we must never let go of the fact that we still do those kind of things to each other. We cannot believe that a Black person can have that kind of skill and astuteness and all of that. We refuse. And that's why when they burned parts of Brooklyn, when they had this whole Korean thing, I wasn't for it. Because my idea is
Judith, I correct you on that again. There was no burning in
what?
Brooklyn
Okay.
with this Korean situation.
All right. That's what I heard. Okay. That's what I heard in Mount Vernon. So what I'm saying is that whole thing that happened, whether it was burning or what's the word that was predominant?
Boycott.
Boycott. I am not boycotting a Korean store. I'm not going to boycott it because I can go someplace else.
But that was the whole point. We had to enlighten the neighborhood as to what it is was going on, and the best way to deal with them is to keep the money out of their pocket. That's what the boycott is about.
But that's what I'm saying is that we again the problem becomes when I pass my Jamaican store and go to the Korean man's store. Who's to blame? Not the Korean man. It's me. So I mean that's just another.
Why are you blaming yourself?
I don't blame
I
them.
just think that we don't have enough respect for each other.
I respect people of color. I respect Black people. But when the Jamaican store owner or practitioner doesn't have any type of behavior toward me as a client, and makes all types of assumptions as if he or she's the only place that I can patronize. If they have good customer service, they will get my no.
I agree with that.
So, Dr. Judith, back to this. We were talking about that imbalance in income, the imbalance in salary. How does that in turn affect us as a whole? When you're there doing the same job as your counterpart and receiving less. Karin, I also want you to chime in on this. I've never worked for that corporate structure in America, so I have no experience where that is concerned. So how does this imbalance in salary affect us as a whole?
I don't know as a whole. And that's something that I'm glad you said it that way, because it's something that I process a lot, and I do a lot of thinking about things. And I think one of the things that gets to me is that I don't respond, and I hope you get this the way I mean it. I don't always respond as a Black person. Okay, I respond first as a person to inequities and injustice. So when things happen to me, like with that job with Dr. Moore, what I did is that I transferred with him because he was trying to make me unhappy not to go with him. I was decided, no, I'm going because it was messing up my plans. You don't just decide that you don't want me to go unless you just outright fire me. Then I'd have sued is behind, because I would do that. But once I got there, what it did for me is I started looking at my life different and say, you know what, maybe I need to leave New York. And so what I did at that time is I made a total switch. And I stayed about a year there, and I resigned and moved to Florida. Now I believe my faith journey is that I had to go through that to get to Florida, because had he just said, come on with me and give me the raise that I thought I was going to get, I'd be making about $50,000. If he had just done that and not brought this other girl in, I would have stayed there perhaps for years. So I believe that it worked to my good, that when I got, knowing that he didn't want me there, I left and I moved to Florida, which was perfectly wonderful for me. Everything was just perfect timing. Sorry. So in a way, what I feel is that I could have stayed and put up with whatever he was doing or whatever, but my way of rebelling, my way of saying, no, what you did was unfair. You should have been paying her what you were paying me. I was with you for 8 years before almost 10 years before she came there. How come she's coming in and making the same salary that I'm making? That don't make any sense whatsoever. Plus, I'm more qualified than she is. So I say it this way. I have never knowingly worked and knew that somebody was getting paid more than I for the same work. Yeah, does that answer what you said? What you asked, Curtis?
No. Well, the question I'm trying to figure out how it affects when I say us as a whole, because if you you spend that time, you take out the same student loan, you attend the same school, you have the same amount of money to pay back. You may be more educated than this white counterpart. Here you are on the same job, having to work twice as hard to prove yourself, first as a woman, second as a black woman, and then you're receiving less money. Doesn't this now in turn affect as to where you live, the type of car you drive, the advantages that you may have or what you can expose your child to, the college that he may eventually go to, as with this reduction in salary that your white from your white counterpart?
Right. If I take myself out of the picture, it would, don't take myself out of the picture, for a person who has student loans and that, all the rest of what you're saying, it must piss them off that here it is, they're putting all this time, they owe all this money, and they can't do this, and they can't get the car, and they can't. And here's this person, Julie come lately, making more than you, and she has all the benefits, and she can afford all the things. Of course, it must piss somebody off. You have to be abnormal not to respond to that kind of situation, because it's inequity. It's unjust. It's not acceptable.
So what about you, Karin? What have you seen or experienced?
From New York to Florida, can I honestly say that it wasn't a racial issue necessarily in New York. It was certainly new grads coming out, and because the union had worked so hard to get the salary up, they came out and maybe they were starting at $49.5 or something like that. Whereas you had to build up to that point.
Right.
It's a bit different in New York. Definitely is different because we had unions, so we could get the money that we do. You know what I mean? Down here in Florida was a different story. It really was very different. It led me. I can only speak for myself in this situation. It led me not to have much loyalty to any one employer, but that started in New York as well. Whereas I could have stayed another two years with my first employer as a nurse, I was like, you know what? You guys are really mistreating me on several levels here. And I left after 3 years. If I'd stayed 5 years, I would have been vested in the pension plan, and it makes you less loyal because they're not loyal to you. So why are you giving 100 if they're giving, you know what I mean? They're mistreating you on the job. There is no reason to hang around for the mistreatment when you know you can get another job elsewhere. But you're also not building your pension funds, and you're not building, different, like your annuities that you know about them, but you can't focus because you're not pleased. You're not being treated well. So you just keep on leaving, different jobs and not building that generational wealth that we've discussed so much on this program. We're not building toward that.
Answer this for me, Sam. Are some of us doomed based on the neighborhood that we may be set up in, or the neighborhood that we're born in, the neighborhood that we doing business, or the city or the state? Someone like yourself, let's say operating in LA, how many more advantages do you think you would have had in that environment as opposed to small town USA? Are we doomed from the start based on demographics?
Well, in business and marketing, one of the main points is location. Where are you located? Are you in a vicinity of despair? Or are you in a vicinity, or you're in an environment of inspair? Is that a word?
Inspair?
No,
stop it, Trini, stop it.
Despair, inspair?
You keep it in spear.
But it does play. It plays a role. Remember, everything you choose would have different layers of its challenges,
and consequences.
So it's something to take into consideration. But the objective is to stay in the game. That's the objective. Stay in the game, and make sure your money have some elastic in it. Sow some elastic in the dollars. You know what I mean?
But one of the things I see, Sam, I see rich doctors, I see poor doctors. I see rich lawyers and I see average lawyers. They're in the same field. They had the same education. In Florida here, in this city called Plantation, there's a particular area where you have some millionaire blue-collar workers. Some of them have lawn care businesses, AC businesses, AC and vents and stuff like that. Whereas you have people who doing AC and they're still renting an apartment and can't get out.
It would be a mistake for people to assume that because someone has a higher degree, that it makes them financially, educated.
Not at all.
And
not at all.
A lot of people, put myself in there, a lot of people mess up financially and then have to backtrack trying to correct things. A lot of doctors, they come out and they may not look at the huge student loan that they have to pay back. That just keeps building and building, and they spend another 30 years trying to manage that. They don't seek advice. They're focused on their craft, their new specialty, and they're sort of with blinders. Some are already entrepreneurs going in. And they're like, okay, let me try investing in this. Let me try investing in that. I need some residual income here to take care of this in case, But not everybody
Something that Karin said before, and I don't know if you guys heard or saw the story about this black guy who worked for McDonald's, and they're making a big deal about him after 37 years, I think.
Was it McDonald's or Burger King? One of them.
One of them. Okay. And they gave him a goodie bag and
with some Reese's and a keychain and a lanyard or whatever it is. The piece of cloth on your neck.
They raised a whole bunch of money for him. But let me tell you what is key. Let me tell you what is key in that situation. And it goes back to something Karin said a while ago. You have to be focused. No matter how people messing with you. And I have a gift for that. Because I've been messed with for most of my life. So I kind of... You could have messed with me from here to Kingdom Come. I'm not moving. You want me to go, you're going to fire me. Because I'm not moving. Because I have a plan. Even if it's not a concrete plan, I have an idea. So when I move, it's me must decide to move. You can't move me. But that's a personality thing.
That's a Jamaican
that man, you know what his daughter said? Or did you ever hear about what the daughter said or what his children said about him?
No.
They said because he stayed there. Because people didn't mean in him. Why should he have stayed there that long? She said, out of that, we were able to get our education. Out of that, we had medical benefits. So the man stayed the course because it benefited his children. So that is a sacrifice, maybe. A man just decides, listen, my picking them come first. It is not McDonald's, it's Burger King. If it's not Burger King, because maybe he never wanted a formal education. Maybe he never, and that's okay. And that's something I want to tell you. It's okay not to have a college degree because some of the wealthiest people in this world don't have one.
I don't know.
That man, the amount of money they raised for him now, so in a way, it worked out for him anyway. Him children are educated and everything, and get all this money. Him sitting pretty.
I don't judge people based on, hey, if you love what you do and you do it for 50 years, that's your thing. My comment when I saw part of that, and my comment for it was after I think it was 27 years.
27 years.
Okay.
27 years in one company, and
I never miss a day.
Trifling. My words, the little tuppence, the little gadgets and little things. I think he should have been appreciated more. Come
on, the guy got a bag of Reese's.
Some candy.
Some Reese's peanut butter cups.
A lanyard.
All right, Karin, can I just say something?
27 years?
Can I say something to you about
Goodness
that?
gracious.
A guy said it, a guy named Tim Tebow.
I know
this one guy said it.
Wait for it?
Tim Tebow.
Okay.
So listen, before you make your point, we are at the top of the hour. What I'd like for you to do, finish up your point, and please leave us with some words of inspiration. How can we get more bang for our buck? Regardless of what industry you're in, wherever you work, more bang for your buck.
Bang.
Bang, 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 bang.
Sorry, that word threw me off. Sorry.
Bang.
Sorry.
For your buck. Tell us how, despite whatever industry you're in, whether you're working for 27 years, for Burger King,
I'm trying to take my mind from where it went. Okay.
Or you're up in the penthouse. Talk to me.
See some, see I.
But
what did I do?
What you're saying there about my thing about that guy is, yeah, he could have done this, and I don't know if he joined, if there was any incentive programs that whichever one he worked at, Burger King, whatever. I don't know. But Tebow was saying something about it. I think it was him saying something about it, and I kind of agree with stuff like that. We have come into a time, especially in America, where everybody wants to be rewarded for everything. I have an issue with those things. My personal thing. You don't have to give me nothing. I must show up, and if I sign up for a pension program, if I sign up for a 401, whatever, give me what you have in there for me. You don't owe me a candy. You don't owe me a popsicle. I don't need anything from you. And the guy who was saying this, and it's something that I've heard it recently and it's bothered me, is that we have gotten to a place in this country, especially where children run a race and everybody has to get a trophy. No, if you did not earn a trophy, you're not getting no trophy from me. Mediocrity has taken center stage in this country, and so everybody must get noticed. Some people mustn't get noticed because if you notice them and they're not really producing, they're going to ride on that mediocrity to death. And in order for us to get listen, when people challenge me, I soar. When people mess with me, I gain strength. Today I was talking about it to myself. When people mess with me, I rise to what I'm supposed to be. That's how that's my individual thought pattern, and I will stick with it. And it has a lot to do with my father, I'm sure. But what I'm saying is that man had the right work ethic. That's how we started out in this world. Work, show up, don't call in sick, don't take the time off. You get disenchanted with people. I tell people, I don't care if you like me, I'm coming to work. And how I deal with people, as long as not you signing a check, don't speak to me. It has nothing to, my job has nothing to do with you. So that's my individual thought about stuff like that. But then I want to take the positive side in this. Through him not being rewarded as people think he should be, which I don't think he should be rewarded especially. I mean, there were days when people had banquets for employees that are leaving. They stopped doing those things now. They don't have no more incentive. They're not doing that no more. Something like that. Yeah, if you're having a dinner, sure. And then maybe it was best for them not to give him anything that give him food. That's insulting to giving him that. It's just you don't give him anything. Because that time I said to them, you know what you do? Keep that. I don't want it. So my thing is that I believe the positive side of this is that this man now has thousands of dollars that he never expected. So he got something.
Hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands.
Okay. So guess what? Him win. And his children are educated.
So how do we get more bang for the buck, Judith? Talk to us.
More bang for the buck. I don't know. I mean, I can also say I don't know. All I can say is this. I continue to do what I do and to be led by who I'm led by. And it works for me. And somebody wrote me on Facebook, I think today, about some of the things that I write and whatever. And my thing is this. If I write something, I don't tell you that you have to agree, but if I write something and one person profits from it, go fly a kite without the tail and no wind either. Leave me alone, none of your blasted business. So I'm saying that to say this, is that my position is always to share. I've shared with you guys whatever come to mind in terms of whatever I've learned, whatever I continue to learn about savings, about spending, about whatever, because I'm a firm believer. And you said this, Mr. Henry, Dr. Curtis Henry. Your initial B? Where initial
B? Yes, B. Middle initial B.
All right. Dr. Curtis B. Henry. Many times in New York, the shows we have done and all this stuff, and you have found a way You brought it out in a skit, and I've repeated it many times, and I've seen it said by other people over the years. How you gonna do not? How you say it now, Curtis? Don't push a man down. So what's the term? To remind me. I know what it's.
Or something to the effect of
down
never
on
look.
somebody you're leaning over to help the person up. Is that what
So
you're
wait,
looking
you telling her what I say?
Say it again.
You wasn't there.
But she got the
it was something to the effect of never look down on a man unless you intend to pick him up. Something to that effect.
Same difference. So guess what? I believe, I truly believe that one of my calling in life is to look out for other people. That's my purpose. I'm not here just for myself. So about the bang and the bang or whatever the term you use there, to me is that I continue for me to give people resources. Today somebody called me and said thanks for something that I'd shared with them. And it hit me how many people will say to me, boy, you told me such and such, and I used it. That's my gift. That's what I give. So that's my bang, if that makes sense to you. I believe that one of my greatest gifts is to share. And some people are stupid to think that I'm sharing to boast. If I boast in Christ, because that's where my information, that's where my encouragement comes from. So the thing is, I believe every one of us have a bang. I hope I'm not misusing this word. Or the ability to use a bang, to put it in the bank. But what gets us shortchanged, and I know for certain that the giving quality in me guarantees the receiving quality in me. I am guaranteed to receive because I'm always willing to give. And that is something that I don't think as a race of people we have worked on too much, or we have whatever. So that is how I think you can assault this thing. Because let me end by saying this. One of the biggest problems that I have, organized religion, and you go to church and the pastor say this and say that. This guy, Creflo Dollar, you've heard of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just came out recently. I don't know if you heard. Big thing. And admitted that he has misled, not me, and tell me no blows cup. He has misled the church members who believe he's God, are sitting on the right hand of God. I don't believe that about him. That's telling people about tithe and shaming people into tithing. Then couldn't shame me. Because if I not have it, I not give, because I not have it.
Blows and skirts.
I not teeth to you. So I say that to say this. That kind of stuff that, people like Creflo Dollar has done, until people start thinking for themselves and reading that. You know why I say amen in church? Because what the pastor said, I read it before, and it is copacetic. Me not say amen because him or she said. So the problem is that the thing is that until we have, and it says it clearly, for lack of knowledge of people perish. Jesus Christ, we can't have no bang unless we have knowledge. Be done.
Blows and skirts.
Dr. Judith, thank you so much for joining us. Karin Forrester, talk to us.
Let me see if we can keep it short.
Yes, let me hear about the physical dollar now. How do we get more value for that?
Bang for your buck. Got you.
Bang for the buck.
One thing that Dr. Judith had mentioned toward the beginning of the show was the envelopes thing, to put money down for different occasions. That's something I used to do way back. Lost the practice and started it. I need to put money in the envelope, but lost. You understand that's important. But I'd lost the practice for quite a few years, and I just started that 2 weeks ago. And they're set and they're labeled. Cool. Another thing, people tend to be devout believers that the only place they can put their money is in the bank. Credit unions are there for a reason, and not enough people even investigate the advantages of the credit union over the bank. Credit unions can help you buy so many things.
Yes.
Holiday funds.
Yes.
Get started with cars or with housing. credit unions need to be utilized more.
I agree with you.
There's a local credit union that offers they call it a 5 for 25 situation, where they ask the children to view 5 financial education classes, whether it's YouTube, whatever, and they will open up an account for them for $25. Now, if you don't have to put any startup money for your kids, what do you have to lose? All you have to do is make sure the documents.
5 for what now?
25. 5 for 25.
After shared.
Yeah,
okay.
Bright Star Credit Union.
Bright Star?
Yeah. And another thing that as far as bang for your buck, I believe that this retail buying of groceries and all these retail buying of staple products is such a waste of money and time and energy that the wholesalers beat out the retailers. But to get to the wholesalers and really stock up on these things when you can, oh my God, much better deal. Much better.
You know what? Not to, Chris, I know I use my time, but like you said there, I shop at places like Sam's.
Right.
It's worth the $45 that I pay once a year because I get all this. A thing of toilet tissue, $45, $18, $19.
Especially if it's on sale. If it's on sale,
okay, even better. So but you see, the ability to look ahead, that's what's killing us. $45. You take that and piss it out in drinking beer. So why not? You know, yeah.
Stock up on staples at your wholesalers and get. Right now, BJ's is offering $25 a year for their membership. They've dropped.
Yeah, I have their
money off of that.
I have a BJ's.
This is a fine time.
So your lesson is get a membership to the wholesalers, buy stuff in bulk, and you get more bang for your buck.
And the use of credit unions.
And the use of credit unions.
Oh, yes, credit union. Listen. My house is bought through a credit union.
All right, we passed the comments. We got to close up the show. So let's punctuate on the points.
Sorry.
Invest in the credit union. And what else?
Wholesalers.
Wholesale membership.
And I agree with the use of the envelopes to put aside money.
Yes.
And just use that.
Thank
for
you.
Whatever reason.
Mr. Archer, how can we get more bang for the buck?
I want to piggyback on a little bit on what Karin said about using the envelopes. Why I like envelopes is, you can get a stamp, when you put your stamp on the envelope, and you have to lick it before you stick it. And that's a little fun thing you can do
Trini,
while you put things in the envelope. Lick it before you stick it.
Trin?
It's a very good thing. Now, there was another trick I would see brothers do in the Caribbean, when gas prices went high. In the Caribbean, it's very hilly, So when you're on top of the hill and they're coasting, they shut off the engine and let it coast. And then when they get to the bottom of the hill, you start up again. So you're saving gas as you go. You have a plan. So lick it before you stick it and save gas. Coast when you can. Let me see what other point I have here. I noticed the chat was sleeping tonight. So I don't know if we have a chat, if anybody's sleeping. They're telling me nothing, they're commenting anything. So we need to find out what is going on there. The other thing we have to look at is sticking to your guns. Now, let me see something here. Let me see what you say here. You see, I saw my last daughter doing the envelope saving. Thank you, Lucy.
Okay.
Now, Lucy, how old is your last daughter? Because we want to know if she was licking the stamp before she stick it on the envelope.
Oh,
so we want to know.
Closing comments. Let's wrap it up. Get to the.
What was my point?
I don't know. Give me the point.
You're confused me there for a second. She's 19. That's very good. She's above 18, so she should be able to handle that story properly. But back to the point at hand. I remember I would go to the grocery sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week.
Oh gosh.
You know, and it was just spending money. So one of the things that helped me conserve greatly is I joined Costco. But Costco is not the only one. If you could find like a BJ's or one of those types of establishments, and you pay your annual thing. Which one do you use, Dr. Judith?
I use BJ's and Sam's.
You use BJ's and Sam. You see, my name is Sam. You see, it works out. So lick it and stick it. Save gas. You don't have to pay tithes and offering anymore.
Say that again.
You don't have to pay tithes and offering anymore.
Oh, sorry, Sam. All right. I don't want Chris to with me.
And you can either go to Costco, BJ's, or Sam's. Because then you can buy.
People who are receiving Social Security should not be tied in on their Social Security. I have to add that.
Okay, good.
They can
Very
pass
good.
on. They're not supposed
And
to
I
be tied
think,
in on their Social Security.
I think with these tips, we should be able to put something in the safe bucket. And that is my point for tonight. And we're happy that the chat is waking up. You see the chat is waking up. Find like a Bronx market or DeKalb market in the ATL.
Oh yes, I know where that is. Ponce de Leon.
Are we talking like when you said the market 100? Are we talking about like the one that they sell wholesale stuff like fruits and oranges and things like that?
Market.
Is that's the one you're talking about? Because we had one in Brooklyn, right? Down by is it Pitkin side in the back there? Dr. Henry?
Too long for me to remember.
It was like Brooklyn.
Too long for me to remember.
It was more like East New York. It was you had to take one of them streets in the back.
So it all very much ties into what Karin said in terms of buying wholesale and
says yes,
maximizing on that dollar. So
yes,
okay.
Yes. But lick it before you stick it, people in the chat. Lick it before you stick it.
You done? Okay, so I didn't have a lot of closing arguments tonight, but one of the things, as I mentioned earlier, know how to squeeze a little bit off of whatever it is you have and put it aside.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're functioning on $5, trust me, you can function on $4.90.
Mm-hmm.
Save 10 cents. If it's $500 and you're functioning on $5, we can work on $4.90. Save 10.
Mm-hmm.
If it's $5,000, you could function on $4,900. Save $100. Learn how to pinch a little piece and put it off. The example I always use with my grandmother, when she sit there and she need that flour and she making the fry bake, 4 of you all in the house, and you see four pieces of flour like this, and all of a sudden somebody dropped by. But what you didn't realize, while she making that bake, she pinched off a piece and she put it down. And you still have your fry bake here. And before you know it, she take these 4 little pieces and put them together. And then at the end of the night, she have 5 fry bakes down there. And that other person get a chance to eat. You have to treat your own finances like that, people. Pinch a little bit, put it aside for a rainy day. When it adds up, try to invest that money into some sort of interest-bearing account. Use it for a business to set up something. But quit sitting back and waiting for your ship to come in. Sometimes you have to swim out and meet it.
Hey, man.
You can't just sit on the dock and wait for that ship. You sometimes have to go out and meet it in order for you to really maximize on the dollar or what it is that's coming to you when you have tax returns. Too many of us take that tax return and we squander it. Like Judith said earlier on, some of us use that stimulus check to go on vacation. We could have used that money and invested it into some venture that could have brought us way more dollars in the long run. But many of us squander that money. So learn how to pinch a little bit and put it aside. And thus you can save something and allow it to build into something bigger that you could now invest or go into a business or whatever it may be for yourself. Stop living in lack and thinking that you never have enough. When you have a poverty mindset, somehow poverty always seems to befall you. Understand that we are living in difficult times. We are living in tough economic times. But sometimes people, even in the midst of that, you have to stop and treat yourself and stop having this poor man's mentality as if, well, you're suffering and crying, oh, I'm suffering and times are so hard. And that's all you will continue to get are hard times, because that's all you preach and call upon yourself. Learn how to stop in the middle of life and smell the roses. Learn how to treat yourself in the middle of all. Who was that? 100 where you talk about? By the single. Yes, I did it. Dollar savings, doctor. Yes. I used to put aside $1 at a time. Whenever I get a new dollar bill, I would save that new dollar bill and put it aside. And 100 was a witness to that. I went to the studio one night, hired musicians, paid him for the studio time, and I paid everybody in dollar bills.
Hey!
Well over $1,000 bills I showed up in that night. I paid everybody. Saving by the ones. So I didn't even remember that story. So putting $1 at a time, I was able to go into the studio and produce a song and paid everybody their salary for the night, all in $1 bills.
You go, boy.
And I didn't miss that money while I was saving it because it was just $1.
Right.
And I put it aside and was able to produce some of my music $1 at a time. Thank you for reminding me that, 100. So, and in terms of that, all of that was a side note. I didn't intend to go so long, but we need to start supporting the businesses in our community. Support the businesses where you live. Because if you get into this habit of traveling across town because it's nicer over there, why you think it's nicer? Because more people go there to shop. So when you do not shop in your neighborhood and you take that dollars out, you don't ever see that dollar because it doesn't come back. Invest in where you live. Because if you don't shop in your local supermarket, you don't shop in your local mall, eventually it will close down. And then now you will be complaining, oh, nobody wants to come here. Why? Because you don't support them. You have certain stores that just will not invest in Black communities.
Right.
You know, why do you think we only see certain stores or food outlets in certain neighborhoods? Most of them tend to stay out of lower end and lower income neighborhoods. We have stores like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. You will not see them in the Black community, in an exclusive Black community. Why? Because we choose not to spend money for food. And I wouldn't even say healthy food, but for food. We prefer to buy cheap stuff in packages, in plastic, with a bunch of chemicals and all because it's cheaper. And we tend to think because it's cheaper, yeah, that's all we can afford. And it's killing us.
Yeah.
That cheap food, them cheap noodles, copper soup, those stuff, it's killing us. And we continue eating it because it's what's the word? Not cheap,
quick,
but it's affordable.
It's quick.
Right? It's affordable and it's quick and it send it to the grave quicker. Sometimes you have to invest in yourself and eat healthier. So stop looking at just the 99-cent can of beans because that maybe the other one might be $1.35, but that might be the one that you need to eat and not the cheap one because some of these cheap stuff is killing us.
Yeah.
Okay? It's expensive to eat cheaply in this place. You see, some people say, oh, you see the price of health food? Have you seen the price of cancer?
Aye.
Have you seen the price of some of these illnesses?
Preach, brother. Preach.
Eat properly, people, because at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. When you fly on a plane, they said to you, when that oxygen mask come down, put it on yourself first before you help somebody else. So if we don't take care of our health, how can we help anybody else? How can we take care of those that we are in charge of? The children and the elderly folks. Eat properly. Stop being cheap. Feed yourself properly. Buy black, be black, buy black, stay black, and for God's sake, die black. Peace and blessings. Good night.
Hi, I'm Dr. Judith Barnes. I'm an author, a playwright, poet. I'm also a broadcaster by training, and I recently found out about 2 years ago that I can paint paintings, which means I paint sceneries, I paint landscape, I paint animals. I have just discovered, and so that I can do this. And so along with all the other gifts and talents that I've been blessed with, I have paintings, and they are on view and for sale on Etsy and also on Facebook. And if you desire to order any painting or order one of my books, because I'm also an author, please give me a call at 470-564-8267. That's Dr. Judith, and the number again, whether you want to just talk to me or order one of my paintings or one of my books, please feel free to call 470-564-8267. Thank you.
Hello there and welcome. My name is Curtis Henry. Over the past few weeks, as we were putting the final pieces together to get the show on the road, some people asked, why do you need to showcase Caribbean people? Why Caribbean Chatt? And I say, why not? Because we as Caribbean people have worked too hard, come too far, and suffered too long for us to continue taking a backseat. It's time for us to rise up, speak out, and show the world the value and the richness of our culture. So I'm providing a platform to showcase the history and culture of Caribbean people in entertainment, the arts, politics, sports, and economics. We will explore the many profound contributions they have made to society. So we invite you to stay with us as we launch what is to become one of the greatest voices of Caribbean people, for Caribbean people, by Caribbean people. On this platform, Caribbean people of excellence get to tell their story. Our aim is to ensure that your contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. Welcome to Caribbean Chatt. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are Caribbean Chatt.
Showtime. Hi, we are the Henry Boys. I'm Joshua.
I'm Daniel. Now it's Mom.
We're inviting you to read a copy of our father's book, Tiny Little Spider and Nursery Rhyme.
Hey, what do you mean a father's book? This is my book. I'm on the cover. Me, Imani. But let's not forget our sister Imani started writing this book.
And our dad finished it. So get a copy.
For yourself or for your child.
Tiny Little Spider, a nursery rhyme by Curtis B. Henry and Imani Smith. Now available on Amazon.com.
With me, Imani.